The Super Mario Bros. Movie looks good. Bold statements only on this channel. I've been cautiously optimistic about the Mario movie ever since it was first announced, far more than most people. Everyone seemed to write it off very early on because of Illumination's involvement, and yeah, I get it, Illumination don't make particularly good films, but the flip side of that is that they don't make anything atrociously bad. Much like the MCU, they found their formula, and at its absolute worst, that formula churns out something entirely passable, if completely forgettable. That's already a much more solid foundation to build a movie on than many other game adaptations get, and add on Nintendo's very strict oversight, and I thought you had a potential recipe for something halfway decent. My hope was then further fueled as more crew members got revealed. There's some legitimate talent on this team. Even when the cast got announced and were rightly mocked for being the most generic celebrity picks you could have possibly chosen, I looked the tiniest bit below their names and saw what characters were going to be featured in this thing. You had your expected ones, like Mario, Bowser, Luigi and Peach, which in any other Hollywood adaptation would be as far as they were willing to go, but then the cast continued. Toad, Donkey Kong, Kamek, Cranky Kong? That's not who you'd instantly picture being in a Hollywood rendition of Mario. Throw in Foreman Spike and I start genuinely believing you know your stuff. A lot of people weren't even aware that character existed until he got revealed for the movie. I should probably mention now, before we get into the stuff that sold most people, that my opinion here is somewhat skewed. I'm no hardcore Mario fan. I certainly like the franchise. Odyssey easily breaks my top 5 games of all time, and I watched the hell out of Super Show growing up, but I'm no diehard. There'll be little details here and there that would enrage Mario fanatics that simply aren't going to bother me, as well as Easter eggs and references I would have never picked up on. My standards are also set particularly low. If you know me, you know I despise the Sonic movie franchise with all my heart. I think it's an absolutely disgusting misrepresentation of a franchise I hold very dear, so even if Mario did somehow wind up as the absolute worst of Illumination's lineup, I would probably still consider it better than Sonic 1 and 2. Incidentally, if you're a Sonic fan and were worried that the Mario movie would be a soulless, calculated product designed to bank off your nostalgia despite being filled with modern-day pop culture references and toilet humor, and carried through with a tone of superiority and a disregard for the source material, then don't worry. You already praised 2 movies exactly like that. Things started out with a surprise poster drop on Tuesday the 4th of October, showing off something that fits the definition of a teaser to an absolute T. Plenty is revealed, and we get a very nice taste of the world, but thanks to prior announcements, we know there's still so much left to see. A lot of heads were turned by the sheer visual quality on display, with people saying just how much nicer this looks than a traditional Illumination movie, and I don't disagree. Comparing it to other posters in their lineup really cements that. The lighting and texture work for Mario is simply much better than we're used to from this company. What caught my eye, however, was the complete lack of any logo. That shows confidence. Ignore the Twitter handle that posted this, and there's zero direct confirmation that this is a Mario movie. Obviously the visuals make that blindingly clear, but that's kind of the point. This is so unmistakably Mario that you don't even need any branding. Had they tried that with Sonic on his first poster, and people would have thought they were advertising a new Alien movie. Things then progressed rather quickly as the very next day, Wednesday the 5th, saw the rest of Mario's design getting leaked by a friend of God. It looked somewhat off. I will admit I did a double take when I first saw this, but I very quickly warmed up to it and actually came to quite like it. Most people had a similar reaction. I think it's because this design is really close to the Mario we're all used to, but with minor tweaks and changes that set off that uncanny valley alarm in our heads. The desaturated colours probably didn't help, and the weird angle made it look like Mario had a bulked up body similar to Crash in that one It's About Time screenshot, but once both of those aspects were corrected, it looked perfectly fine. Some people had, quite frankly stupid takes, genuinely comparing this to the demon whose name we do not speak, but thankfully most people were in agreement that this is Mario. An ever so slightly Hollywood-fied version of Mario, but Mario nonetheless. Plus, it's Illumination. This could have looked much, much worse. So after 2 days straight of official and unofficial Mario movie discourse, it was time for the main event, the trailer. Miyamoto hit play, we all sat forward in anticipation, and fuck, it's good. It's really good. It's amazing to me how much of an inverse this is from the initial Sonic trailer. When watching that, I felt my sanity slip away with every passing second, but here, I mean shit. This must be what a drug-induced high feels like. You're immediately taken aback by the very first images. A long, unbroken shot of Bowser's airship dumping lava onto the ground as it moves towards an ice kingdom. There's icy dust rushing along the surface, the fire effects look live-action quality, and there's a random Northern Lights-esque pattern chucked into the background just because. Already, this blows an entire hour and a half of visuals way out of the water. Also, I'm sorry, did I call this an airship? That's what we're all used to, my bad. What I meant to say was an entire fucking magma continent. This is how you make a video game adaptation. You take the material already present and just add to it. Make it bigger, make it better, add detail, accentuate all of its good qualities. And after a few more shots that have no right being this cinematic, we see that same practice put into play with our main villain,
the King of the Koopas!
I'd just like to pause here. In the Sonic movies, Robotnik's full name has never been spoken. There's no instance of the name Ivo. Here, before he's even name-dropped as Bowser, we get Kamek introducing him by one of his secondary titles. Just something to think about. Now would be as good a time as any to bring up the visuals. Remember how the poster had surprisingly nice lighting and texturing for an Illumination production? Yeah, they were holding back. This movie looks amazing. It's gorgeous. It's the kind of step up from the look of the games that you'd expect with a Hollywood budget, but even then this takes things to another level. It's so vibrant and expressive, but without sacrificing any of what makes Mario Mario. The characters, tone, and world especially all seem to be taking what was already present in the games and just doing more. Exactly as I've always advocated for. Taking the penguins from 64 and giving them an entire civilization, taking Peach's castle and the land surrounding it and expanding that into a genuine mushroom kingdom. They could have just recreated the first level with their fancy updated graphics and called it a day. Ahem, ahem, ahem. But no, they made a genuine effort to turn the game locations into a real, lived-in world. That's all well shown off in this opening scene, which is constructed geniusly. I don't think that's a word. We immediately see an entirely new location based on existing elements, demonstrating how the movie's going to respectfully build out the Mario world. We are shown a wide variety of characters, all of which brandishing unique textures and sizes, giving a great opportunity to showcase that animation range. We get a feel for the tone, which reflects the fun but genuine nature of the games, and it's all presented with a much bigger, grandiose feel than has ever been seen in Mario before. Also, can I do some quick counting a second? The Koopas, a Magic Koopa, Para Koopas, the 64 penguins, and whatever Bowser is. That's 5 unique characters slash species from the games already present in what is very likely the movie's opening. That's the same amount of characters slash species from the games that Sonic Movie 1 had in its entirety, including the mid-credit scene. Like, I'm sorry, but this just doesn't compare. It's not fair to say this has set the bar a little higher for video game movies. Mario is the iceberg that will sink Sonic's Titanic. Point me to a Sonic fan who ever actively wanted a live-action CGI hybrid movie. Not the many that eventually resigned themselves to it. Find me the people who were asking for it. Because everywhere I look, I'm seeing Sonic fans admit jealousy towards the Mario movie, and yeah, when the most we're fed is characters with entirely changed personalities, mere glimpses into a world more resembling Sonic here and there, and 21 whole seconds of newly composed music remixes, I'm sure the Mario movie looks like a fucking meal. But hey, it's not completely one-sided, not all sunshine and rainbows in the Mushroom Kingdom. We still have one elephant in the room. Or Lego figure in the wrong movie. Chris Pratt playing Super Mario, certainly not a choice I ever would have made, and yeah, I do feel bad for Charles Martinet getting completely shafted when he is a professional voice actor, and could have made the necessary changes to ensure that Mario's voice isn't grating for 2 hours, but at least he'll still get featured somewhere in the film. I know people made a big stink about that online, but if you want to compare, What have these movies ever done for previous Sonic voice actors? And personally, I don't think we should write Pratt off entirely just yet. We have to hear more, but the other cast members we've heard so far have been outstanding picks, which tells me there must be some reason they chose Pratt, outside of the celebrity casting. Plus, he is putting on some kind of accent, which as a non-American sounds perfectly Brooklyn enough to me.
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come!
I do agree it could be better. In fact, I think the Brazilian dub nails the mix of deeper and higher that I'd want from a movie Mario voice.
Reino dos cogumelos, lá vamos nós!
But you know, I can live with this. I'm definitely biased, and giving the movie a lot of leeway based on how much goodwill it's drummed up within me. But he looks like Mario, he'll act like Mario. If he doesn't quite sound the part, then it's not the end of the world. Now, what would be the end of the world would be some hideous he comes from the real world kind of plot, with a live-action Chris Pratt at the start. Oh my god, oh no, they're clearly not doing that. I don't know how anyone came to this conclusion. They've been marketing it strictly as an animated movie. You'd think they'd mention any live-action CGI elements if those existed. And besides, what makes people think Nintendo would ever let Illumination stick an actor in Mario's costume? That's how we got here in the first place. What's likely going on is that Mario exists in an animated version of Brooklyn, or possibly New Donk City, where he works a normal life with his brother under Foreman Spike as a plumber, or maybe a construction man if they want it to be more of a nod to the original Donkey Kong arcade game. He'll get fired, or at least not be in a great place emotionally, find some kind of warp pipe and get sent to the Mushroom Kingdom. Still a little disappointing in my eyes. I was really hoping for one big world of connected kingdoms like Odyssey, but oh well, it's keeping with tradition at least. I mean, it's the Mario Brothers. Plumbing's their game. They'll find the secret warp zone while working on the drain. Lend the princess a hand in the Mushroom Land? I fucking can't do any more of that song. Evil Koopa and his troopers will be up to misbehaving. They'll kidnap the princess and Mushroom Land will need saving. Abusing and confusing, and everybody will discover. They just can't help but be— hang on, why does the song say abusing? What the fuck is he doing to Peach? While we're at this end of the trailer, Mario's design. I will admit, I was thrown off all over again when I saw it in motion, though this time I think that's for a very simple reason. I'm used to these big, smiling faces and exaggerated heroic posings when it comes to Mario. Seeing him with a pained, then confused look on his face and very subtle, restrained movement for most of the trailer just isn't something I'm used to with this character. He also does look somewhat younger than usual, and his face seems stretched in the wrong direction at points, but so do Luigi and Kamek, so I'll just accept that as a quirk. Bowser looks absolutely perfect, however. He's got newfound heft, menace, and energy, with slightly more animalistic qualities. I love the turtle-like skin texture, and they somehow made his face look like Jack Black's. I can't explain it, you see it too, right? Music is something very important to any piece of visual media. The wrong choice of song can completely ruin whatever tone is trying to be portrayed, but the right choice can take things to the next level. Video game movies in theory have this particularly easy. Just take a wide variety of existing tracks from the games and make them all fit into various scenes. That's dumbing it down a fair amount, but the basic idea still applies. Get a talented composer, make them learn and then implement the game music well, and bam, you've got a soundtrack. Case and point, this trailer. That's a nice, grandiose rendition of the Super Mario Bros. Theme that does exactly what a good adaptation should do. Hit that perfect balance of new and familiar. It's such a blindingly obvious concept that you'd think would be the immediate choice with a project like this, and yet, well, what do all of these trailers end with? Man, you're just holding up so well against this movie, aren't you? Now that is just the trailers, they're not necessarily representative of the final product. I mean, this one directly lied and told me I'd be watching a good movie. But thankfully we have the head of Illumination here, who actually somehow looks like Gru, to reaffirm this approach.
Composer Brian Tyler heads to the scoring stage in just 11 days. He's been working hand in hand with Koji Kondo to integrate classic themes from the game into the film's score.
A Hollywood composer working hand in hand with a game's musician to get the soundtrack just right. That is how it should be. A collaboration between film company and game company, both providing their best qualities. No ditching their look and feel to make our movie, no replacing all their iconic music with generic orchestra, no telling them their design needs to be changed because it wouldn't work on film. If you're at that point, do you not need to take a step back and realise that something's gone horribly wrong? I think you get my point by now. It's the thesis of this entire video. The Sonic movies are generic Hollywood children's films with cherry-picked game elements coated on top. There's nothing fundamentally Sonic about these movies' DNA. Change a couple lines of dialogue and replace a few models and you could pass them off as a whole new IP. The Mario movie trailer, in just 2 short minutes, has already shown what a real video game adaptation can be. Expansion of the world and concepts, grander presentation than was previously available, humour and a tone that fits with what's already been established, music from the fucking source material. It's got its grey patches, but right now I'm willing to give this movie the benefit of the doubt. It seems to be Mario infinitely more than these will ever be Sonic. There's still a lot we have yet to see too, and while yes, there's every chance they showcased the 2 best scenes and everything else is downhill from here, I don't know, I've got a good feeling about this one. Or maybe just baseline optimism. As a Sonic fan, it's been so long. I didn't get into any of the other leaks that have been happening, partially because I prefer focusing on what's guaranteed to be true about the film, but also because Nintendo's actually being pretty vigilant with their copyright takedowns and I'd like to keep this video up. But it's very interesting stuff. Pretty easy to find if you want to go looking for it. Certainly implies we're in for a movie that pays even more respect to the source material than anyone would first guess. I have hope in the Mario movie. I'm no longer just cautiously optimistic. I'm genuinely excited, and not that it means anything to anyone besides me, but the last time I got this kind of feeling was with Crash 4, and that ended up becoming my new favourite game of all time, so yeah. This is all going to age wonderfully when the Mario movie sucks balls and Sonic 3 makes every single conceivable change necessary to make those movies good. Also, unrelated, but how awesome is it that they're bringing in the Power Stars? I certainly wasn't expecting that. Game power-ups and items are usually the hardest things to translate from medium to medium, I find. It looks great too, feels very respectful, all shiny and powerful. You know if this was Paramount, they'd remove the eyes, change the colour, and claim they needed to do it to make it feel like part of the movie world. But that's it, that's all my thoughts, I'm out of steam now. But thank you very much for watching. You can find me on Twitter and support me on Patreon. Please leave your thoughts down below, I'd love to hear other perspectives on this. And I'd like to leave you all with a simple question. Are the Sonic movies considered the best video game films of all time because they're masterful adaptations of the Sonic franchise? Or are they simply considered the best because nothing better's overthrown them yet? Oh yeah, the memes that came out of this one were really good too.
Fuck you!